Healthy snacks meals in the building.
I wasn't even thinking about me being on the show. I wanted to produce something for them.
Cool celebrity. Like if I went to the mall and stuff, people are like, oh.
The thing was, I didn't even know that anybody ever thought I was ugly.
We look like twins almost.
Okay.
She really wouldn't be
Covering any more subjects related. So that's why you got the raw reaction. This is pathetic. It's pathetic.
With a degree of dignity. Lay down your life with dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony. There's nothing to death. It's like Max said, it's just stepping over into another plane. Don't be this way. Stop this hysterics. This is not the way for people who are socialists, communists to die. No way for us to die. We must die with some dignity.
Nobody joins something they think is going to hurt them. You join a religious organization, you join a political movement, and you join with people that you really like.
Some people see a great deal of God in my body. They see Christ in me, a hope of glory.
He said, if you see me as your friend, I'll be your friend. As you see me as your father, I'll be your father. He said, if you see me as your God, I'll be your God.
Jim Jones talked about going to the promised land, and then pretty soon we were seeing film footage of Jonestown.
Rice, black-eyed peas, Kool-Aid.
We all wanted to go. I wanted to go.
People's Temple truly had the potential to be something big and powerful and great. And yet, for whatever reason, Jim took the other road.
On the night of the 17th, it was still a vibrant community. I would never have imagined that 24 hours later they would all be dead.
Before I came here, I was taking LSD, marijuana, every type of dope you can imagine. Without our pastor Jim Jones to teach me the right way, I would not be in college right now. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It was an interracial group. The choir was interracial.
The People's Temple services, they had life, they had soul.
There's people struggling for justice and righteousness. There I am, and there I am involved.
What he spoke about were things that were in our hearts. The government was not taking care of the people. There were too many poor people out there. There were poor children.
The world is like a human family. The little child may not be able to go and draw a paycheck, but the father guarantees the child care. The grandmother may not be able to work anymore, but the father and mother guarantees her the right to live.
There's a little town in Indiana. The moment I think of it, a great deal of pain comes. As a child, I was undoubtedly one of the poor in the community. Never accepted. Born, as it were, on the wrong side of the tracks.
Jim Jones was born James Warren Jones on May 13, 1931, in a rural area of Crete, Indiana, to Father James Thurman Jones, a World War I veteran, and Mother Lynetta Putnam. Jones was of Irish and Welsh descent. In 1934, the economic difficulties during the Great Depression forced the family to move to the nearby town of Lynn, where Jones grew up in a shack without plumbing. Jones was a voracious reader who studied Joseph Stalin, Karl Marx, Mahatma Gandhi, and Adolf Hitler. He also developed an intense interest in religion. Childhood acquaintances recall Jones as a really weird kid who was obsessed with religion and death, alleging that he frequently held funerals for small animals on his parents' property, and that he had once stabbed a cat to death. Jones and a childhood friend both claimed that his father was associated with the Ku Klux Klan, which had become very popular in Depression-era Indiana. Jones recounted how he and his father argued on the issue of race and how he did not speak with his father for many, many years after he refused to allow one of Jones's black friends into his house.
Feeling as an outcast, I'd early developed a sensitivity for the problems of blacks. I brought the only black young man in the town home, and my dad said that he could not come in. And I said, then I shan't, and I did not see my dad for many years.
Jones's parents separated, and Jones relocated with his mother to Richmond, Indiana. In December 1948, he graduated from Richmond High School early with honors. To support himself, Jones worked as an orderly at Richmond's Reed Hospital and was well regarded by the senior management. However, staff members later recalled Jones exhibiting disturbing behavior. One former co-worker of Jones recalled an incident where Jones manhandled a patient while dry shaving him, resulting in the patient's injury with a straight razor. It was also at Reed Hospital where Jones met nurse Marceline Baldwin, whom he married in 1949. Tragically, she would later die with Jones at Jonestown. Jones and his wife relocated to Bloomington, Indiana, where he attended Indiana University, Bloomington. There, he was impressed with a speech by Eleanor Roosevelt about the plight of African Americans. In 1951, the couple relocated to Indianapolis. Jones attended Indiana University for 2 years and then took night classes at Butler University, earning a degree in secondary education. In 1952, he became a student pastor at the Somerset Southside Methodist Church, but later claimed he left the church because its leaders forbade him from integrating blacks into its congregation. Around this time, Jones witnessed a faith healing service at a Seventh-day Adventist Baptist church. He observed that it attracted people and their money and concluded that he himself could accomplish his own social goals with financial resources from such services. In 1956, Jones was able to begin his own church, calling it People's Temple Christian Church Full Gospel, later shortening it to the People's Temple. He was ordained as a minister in 1957 by the Independent Assemblies of God and in 1964 by the Disciples of Christ. Jones was known to regularly study Adolf Hitler and Father Divine to learn how to manipulate members of the People's Temple. Father Divine once told Jones personally to, quote, find an enemy and make sure they know who the enemy is, as it will unify those in your group and make them subservient to you. During this time, Jones also helped to racially integrate churches, restaurants, the telephone company, the Indianapolis Police Department, a theater, an amusement park, and the Indiana University Health Methodist Hospital. He also set up sting operations to catch restaurants refusing to serve black customers. Jones and his wife adopted several non-white children, referring to the household as his rainbow family, and stating, "Integration is a more personal thing with me now. It's a question of my son's future." He also portrayed the People's Temple as a rainbow family. In 1954, the Joneses adopted Agnes, who was part Native American. In 1959, they adopted 3 Korean American children named Lou, Stephanie, and Suzanne, and encouraged temple members to adopt orphans from war-ravaged Korea. In June 1959, Jones and his wife had their only biological child, naming him Stephen Gandhi. In 1961, they became the first white couple in Indiana to adopt a black child, naming him Jim Jones Jr. They also adopted a white son, naming him Timothy Glenn Tupper, whose birth mother was a member of the temple. Jones traveled with his family to Brazil with the idea of setting up a new temple location after preaching at the temple about the fears of nuclear war. On his way to Brazil, Jones made his first trip to Guyana, which at the time was still a British colony. Jones's family rented a modest 3-bedroom home in Brazil and studied the local economy. He also explored local Brazilian religions. Jones felt guilt for effectively abandoning the civil rights struggle in Indiana and possibly losing what he had tried to build there. His associate preachers in Indiana told him that the temple was about to collapse without him, so Jones returned. Jones returned from Brazil in December 1963 and told his Indiana congregation that the world would be engulfed by nuclear war on July 15, 1967, leading to a new socialist Eden on earth, and that the temple had to move to Northern California for safety. Accordingly, the temple began moving to Redwood Valley, California, near the city of Ukiah.
That Ukiah was one of the 9 places in the world that in the event of thermonuclear attack, people would survive.
I told Edith, if you follow Jimmy to California, you're crazy. I was there the afternoon that Edith drove away.
The move to California was really fun. There were about 12, 15 cars driving across the United States and making that journey to a place none of us knew.
Redwood Valley, I couldn't believe my eyes because it was like a paradise. It was rural, it was green, there were grapevines everywhere, and I fell in love. I said, this has got to be a perfect way to live.
Started with about 141 people, and from that we've grown to a very thriving congregation. We have about every level of society, all socioeconomic income strata, from professional down to the ordinary field worker, field labor. Really, it's beautiful to see that all these divisions have been broken down, not only race, but any differences of economic position.
The focus of Jim's
to be sad in the sense that he said to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, take in the stranger, minister to those the widows and afflicted in their suffering, and we feel that no one really tried Christianity too effectively.
And every summer he began this cross-country tour.
The purpose of the bus trips was to spread Jim's beliefs about socialism and the world and how we can live.
I decided not to go to Vietnam, and I was just at the point of what am I going to do with myself. I heard Jim Jones was going to be coming to Philadelphia and coming to Benjamin Franklin High School. And I went Wednesday night, and I listened to him, and I was impressed by how it was such an interracial group and people were really happy.
You got nothing to lose. Who else is going to stand, look you in the face and say, come and I'll give you a job. Come and I'll give you a home. Come and I'll give you a bed. So I got nothing but a pension. Don't leave your pension behind. Who else will tell you that? Who'll tell you I'll put you on that bus tomorrow? Somebody is going to get on the freedom train in Philadelphia.
Now, in this church, what have we done in a short time? We have 4 senior citizen homes that are the most innovating, the most beautiful you want to see.
They had their own rooms, they had every need taken care of, they had their food provided. They were well looked after.
Now, my home is stone block, and there's not a piece of new furniture in it, but our senior citizen homes, they're elegant, and that's beautiful.
They were giving their life's money and savings to the church, but in exchange, the church was agreeing to take care of them in a community, not just in a nursing home.
Well, it got to the point where there were so many duties in the temple that some people had to become full-time. So when you were full-time temple, you worked about 20 hours a day.
Because I figured that he had the better plan. I gave my rights up to him, as many others did.
Edie, are your fingers numb in your right hand? Reach the fingers out that are bothering you. Now, is the pain gone?
There was a senior citizen, and we nicknamed her Power. He would have her to come up in the midst of one of his meetings, and she used to say, "The man got power. The man got power, y'all." And the whole place would just go wild.
Take your glasses off. Let's just dare in our faith. Now, look at my face. I love you. The people love you. And most importantly, Christ loves you. What do you see?
One finger.
One finger.
One of the most incredible healings to me was this little old lady, and she was in a wheelchair. Jim said, "Darling, you know, today is your day. You're gonna get healed today. So we're gonna heal those legs of yours. You're gonna walk again." And the whole auditorium went totally crazy.
Come forth, my dear. Stand out. Take that step. Bless your heart. Take that step.
And she takes this real slow, shaky step. She said, "I can feel it." He said, "Yes, I know you can feel it. Now take your other leg and do it." And it's another real slow, shaky step. And he says, "Now I want you to walk toward me."
Move forward. Move forward. Move forward, darling. You can do it.
And she starts taking forward steps. And pretty soon, she is walking. And she starts walking up one of the aisles. And pretty soon she's running. Well, by this time, the whole congregation's running down these aisles with us. We're all just running around the aisles, just hooping and hollering up a storm. Later, I found out that this person that I had seen healed and cried with was really one of the secretaries, made up to look crippled and blind.
Never shall forget what he's done for me. Oh, what he's done for me. Oh, what he's done for me. Oh, what he's done for me. I never shall forget.
For those people that hadn't grown up in the apostolic world, Jim would say, you know, I know this is different for you, but for people to come from extremely religious backgrounds so that I can bring them forward to the message that's so important for all of us today, and that is activism.
By the early 1970s, Jones began referencing Christianity as a fly-away religion, rejecting the Bible as being a tool to oppress women and non-whites, and denouncing a sky god who was no god at all. He wrote a booklet titled The Letter Killeth, criticizing the King James Bible. Jones also began preaching that he was the reincarnation of Father Divine, Mahatma Gandhi, and Jesus. A former temple member quoted Jones as saying, "What you need to believe in is what you can see. If you see me as your friend, I'll be your friend. If you see me as your father, I'll be your father, for those of you that don't have a father. If you see me as your savior, I'll be your savior. If you see me as your God, I'll be your God. You're going to have to help yourself or you'll get no help. There's only one hope of glory, and that's within you. Nobody's going to come out of the sky. There's no heaven up there. We'll have to make heaven down here."
Then I need to speak on each person's level.
He said, a lot of you people, you Christian people coming in, you're so hung up on this Bible. He said, this black book has held down black people for the last 200 years. He said, but I'm going to show you this has no power. So he leaned way back like a football player, and he flung it. And when he flung it and let it go, the place got dead quiet. Like,
you're going to help yourself or you'll get no help. There's only one hope of glory. That's within you. Nobody's going to come out of the sky. There's no heaven up there. We'll have to make heaven down here.
and he said, what you need to believe in is what you can see. He said, if you see me as your friend, I'll be your friend. As you see me as your father, I'll be your father, for those of you that don't have a father. He said, if you see me as your savior, I'll be your savior. He said, even so, if you see me as your God, I'll be your God.
Said I never heard a man speak like this man before.
People lifted Jim to a level of adoration because many believed that he had healed them of cancer. Many believed that he had saved their son or daughter from an automobile accident. There were many reasons for many people to admire, love, excuse, overlook much of what Jim did.
Within 5 years of moving to California, the temple experienced a period of exponential growth and opened branches in cities including San Fernando, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. By the early 1970s, Jones began shifting his focus to major cities across California and set up the People's Temple's headquarters in San Francisco, which at that time was a major center for radical protest movements. Jones and the temple soon became very influential in the city's politics.
Jim Jones, I think, realized that ultimately Ukiah was not the sort of climate where People's Temple would thrive. He wasn't going to be gaining large numbers of members. He couldn't declare himself to be a socialist god openly, certainly in a city like Ukiah.
In San Francisco, Jones walked in on a sort of a wild kind of party where there was a lot of new faces and new sources of power. And there was a sort of feeling that smaller groups, neighborhood groups, activist groups had a bigger chance.
I
think the early 60s had been a time of great optimism. There was a belief that we could change the world through social movements. With various assassinations, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, there was definitely a feeling of hopelessness. The message of People's Temple was, no, the dream is alive.
If you had a demonstration in San Francisco and you wanted people to show up, Jim Jones, the People's Temple, could be there in 20 minutes with hundreds of people, and we would be enthusiastic. There was an attitude of, we can change the world, and that's what we wanted to do.
These people would be on time, they'd be polite and nice. They were a span of ages, a span of races. They were tailor-made for a political rally. To a politician, it was like a birthday cake times 12.
You've managed to make the many persons associated with People's Temple part of a family. If you're in need of health care, you get health care. If you're in need of legal assistance of some sort, you get that. If you're in need of transportation, you get that. And that's the kind of religious thing that I'm excited about and have some respect for.
When vice presidential candidate Walter Mondale came to San Francisco, Jim Jones was part of the entourage that boarded his private jet. When Rosalind Carter came to San Francisco, she gave Jim Jones a private audience. Jim Jones had political power that few people, let alone preachers, could have imagined.
Jim Jones represented the People's Temple as a progressive movement that was threatened, that there were outside forces who didn't want us to do what we were doing, and it was the government. The government was infiltrating and wiretapping and trying to kill people or assassinate people. That's what was happening.
He was always paranoid that someone was going to get in and try to kill him. That they had two people that had dedicated their lives that they were going to jump in front of Jones and take the bullet, kind of like the Secret Service, so to speak.
Jim started changing a lot in the 70s. He was taking drugs. I think he said it was his kidneys at the time. And he was getting more and more paranoid. Incredibly paranoid.
There was always threats, always threats. They were there. They were just about to try to destroy us if we weren't always vigilant about our movement. There was a fire in the San Francisco temple. The temple was burned down and had to be rebuilt. The fire proved they are out to get us. They so don't want us to do what we're doing. They've burned down the temple. They'll do anything to keep us from doing what we're doing, so we have to be even stronger.
What about the fact that the Ku Klux Klan has increased 100 times in its membership? Where? Not Mississippi, I'm talking about New York State. It's the church's duty to have a place of protection for its people.
Explained to each of us and in sermons was that sexual relationships were very selfish, and they took away from the focus of the church, and that was to help others. Jim was not celibate. Nobody knew that until perhaps it was their time to find out. What he spoke from the pulpit wasn't what he did behind the scenes.
I remember one night, one of the brothers had stood up and said, you know, I think everybody that wants Father to screw him in the butt, you need to take an enema first. I'm telling you the truth, man. I'm telling you the truth. And then the question went on, well, how many of you in here have had him to do that? And whether they were lying or just following suit, hands of the men just went up around the room. And I'm sitting there petrified because I'm like, is this what it's leading to that I'm supposed to get to? And I'm thinking, But I played it off like, okay, I'm being cool. Okay, if that's where they at, that's not where I'm at. Because I'm thinking, my wife, I'm happy with my wife. You know, as far as I'm concerned with her, with this sleep I'm not getting enough anyway.
One of the powerful things that Jim used to keep us to not think was that we were never really allowed to speak with one another. I'd look around and I'd say, am I the only one that feels this way? I learned eventually not to say anything to anyone.
We had a lady who visited us a week ago here and was speaking to one at the door, and she was a member of a prominent church, a pastor's wife. And she said, I think that the poor should be made to control how many children they bring into the earth. You remember? Some leading scientists say we have to have euthanasia. Oh, no. Oh, no. Who's going to decide who and when a person's going to die? We must never allow that, because this is the kind of thing that ushers in the terror of a Hitler's Germany. We must not allow these kind of things to enter our consciousness.
My father used to tell me that people's lives, 60% of people's lives, were made on emotional decisions. Make your decisions.
About 120 people. Jim started talking about our cause, and he said, this punch is going to be passed out to everybody here. We all drank our punch, and then, he said, you just drank poison. And we will all die right here in the church together as one. The women were just screaming, oh no, my baby, my baby. And others just sat there. And all of a sudden, Jim says, that wasn't poison you drank.
Jim said that this was a test of loyalty. He just wanted to see if we were truly committed to our cause, and that was how we would show it.
Well, it wasn't about our loyalty, because we were demonstrating loyalty all the time. Coming there, being there in the meetings, sitting. It had a lot more to do with Jim's sense of rehearsal. Did he feel like he was potent and omnipotent enough to really get people to kill themselves when he said so? And that frightened the hell out of me.
December of '75, 90 of us went by plane into Guyana and saw where we were building the community there.
See, they've made progress on the road and leveled it, clear in the 5 miles that you're seeing in the distance, housing complexes that are being built.
What I saw that creation as being was building a city where we could move and raise our children outside of the oppression and the racism of the United States of America.
When I first went into Jonestown, it was just a footpath in the rainforest. We literally built a city in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of nowhere.
Hello, family. It's such a joy and great pleasure being here because of Father's love. We are trying to make, and we are making, a place of refuge for all of you here. There's nothing at all that I have any holdings there. I do not want to go back in any way, shape, or form to the States. I love it here, and this is the place where all of you are going to be.
Pretty soon we were seeing film footage of the first crew that went down there. We all wanted to go. I wanted to go. It looked like freedom.
Now will each of you give a very fond embrace, a salutary kiss of greeting to your neighbor. And let's fill this atmosphere with warmth and love.
We thought of ourselves as one big family that did handle our own discipline.
I was in a lot of the meetings where people were spanked or beaten, and I was slapped once also in a public meeting.
People were brought up front and had to tell who they'd slept with and who they had sneaked off to a restaurant with.
It wasn't a week that went by that I wasn't called up on the floor because of my behavior, because of my attitude. Stanley Clayton, up front center.
He would ask people, what do you think we ought to do with them? You think I ought to get a good boxing? And then you'd get a resounding roar, yes.
You might fight 5 people in one night. Well, you know, you're very tired. I've seen situations where they actually knocked the person out and actually took water and threw the water back on, woke him up and woke him some more.
I had welts really bad, and when I went to work the next day, one of my employees noticed the welts when I sat down, and I just broke down and told her. She didn't even know I was People's Temple. And she called the manager of the station up, and they talked to me about leaving. I couldn't say goodbye to my son and my husband, because at that point it was like the Gestapo. The families were turning in each other. If I had said goodbye, one of them would have reported me.
It's kind of like when you get married and you have this ideal and you're in love, and then, the honeymoon wears off and reality sets in. And most people, once the going gets rough, don't jump out immediately.
In one planning commission meeting, Jim was getting notes, kind of love notes from one of the members on the planning commission.
Jones is sitting there calmly, and so another lady said, well, I don't know why you keep doing that. What makes you think you got something that he wants anyway? And so another woman says, well, you know what, you ought to just take off your clothes and show him what you got. You ain't got nothing. And so by this time, they look back to Jones, and so he looks over his glasses, and he nods with approval. Yeah, that's a good idea.
She was to be totally naked, and she was down to nothing but her skin. Not even any shoes on, no bra, no panties, no nothing.
Then they begin to say what her breasts looked like, her stomach, butt, vagina, you name it. Everything they could think of, they were saying. By this time, her face is red. Her body's almost red from embarrassment. And I noticed something. Jones was sitting, looking over his sunglasses, but he had a smile on his face, like he's really enjoying this woman being torn down.
I have a conscious memory of sitting there thinking to myself, this is wrong. And I didn't do a damn thing to stand up and say, this is wrong.
It's like a child in a dysfunctional family. On a certain level, it's normal, I just kind of took everything in stride.
But then we felt like we had gotten involved and gotten in so deep that it was actually no way out.
I traveled on bus 7, which was Jim's bus. And he sat down next to me. And I was sitting there and I thought, that's weird. It smells like alcohol next to me. And he leaned over and he said, do you know what you do to me? He had informed me that I was to come in, and on bus 7 there was a room in the back, which was like for just him. He had books, he had a desk, he had a bed. When everyone got off the bus at the rest stop, I went into his little room and I sat there and waited for him. And finally, he opened the door, and without any talk or anything, he just pulled down his pants and had sex with me. And as I lay there, frightened, not sure what to do, and as I shivered, he'd say to me, this is for you. I'm doing this for you, Debbie.
Well, in 1975, there was a mayoral election in San Francisco. A conservative candidate and a liberal candidate, George Moscone.
How you doing, all right? All right.
Jones had several hundred people who would go door to door election day. Instead of a group that might give you 20 or 30 of these people, or 100, you had 300 or 400.
God bless you for being here, and let's go on and win.
The Moscone election was very close. The margin of victory was probably no more than 4,000. So you had to credit a big chunk of decisive votes to People's Temple.
The reward for the election of George Moscone was the appointment of Jim Jones as chairman of the City Housing Authority.
What was once a really boring meeting all of a sudden became like really interesting when Jim Jones became the head of it, because we all came down on the buses and we were instructed that when Jim came in, we stood, and when he left or spoke, we'd stand and clap.
The sheer staginess, the controlled atmosphere that sort of enclosed this guy made him so unusual, so different than the norm, that it made me very curious.
In the summer of 1977, Jones and several hundred followers abruptly decided to move to the temple's communal settlement in Guyana, officially called the People's Temple Agricultural Project, but informally it was known as Jonestown, after they had learned that contents of a newspaper article alleged allegations by temple defectors of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Jones had started building Jonestown several years before the New West article was published. It was promoted as a means to create both a socialist paradise and a sanctuary from the media scrutiny in San Francisco. Jones's authority decreased after the move to Jonestown because he was not needed for recruitment and he could not hide his drug addiction from rank and file members. In spite of the allegations, prior to Jones's departure, he was still respected by some for setting up a racially integrated church which helped the disadvantaged. After all, 68% of Jonestown's residents were black. Jones began to propagate his belief in what he called translation once his followers settled in Jonestown, claiming that he and his followers would all die together, move to another planet, and live blissfully.
My biggest problem was getting somebody to sort of talk to me about the church in kind of conversational terms.
I had become friends with some of the various defectors, and one of the defectors told me that she was going to speak publicly about Jones. And I said to her, I said, well, if you're going to speak publicly, I'm going to speak with you. I'm not going to let you do this alone.
I finally heard from some ex-members who heard I was interested in writing a story about the temple for New West magazine. And they took a chance. They called me, and some of them said, you know, you don't know nothing about the church. Wait till I tell you what I went through.
Before the article was going to break, Jim convinced the publisher that she needed to read it to him. He was on one phone and I was on taping the other end of it while somebody else listened on another one. Jim didn't understand that there was no way he could talk her down from whatever this article was going to say. And as she continues to read this article, he's looking around the room at about 5 of us, and you could tell that he's becoming more and more anxious, and you know, his mouth becomes drier and drier. And he realizes that this article is going to be hugely damning. And it was midway through it, he mouths to all of us in the room, "We're leaving tonight." They flew out to Guyana 6 hours before that article was going to hit.
When Jim Jones decided that there was too much pressure, too much trouble to stay in San Francisco, he ordered the move to Jonestown, and it happened almost overnight. People were being taken to airports. There were people who were packing their belongings and leaving their homes with virtually no explanation to their family members as to where they were going or why they were going. Fred Lewis came home and found that his wife had taken their 7 children and gone to Guyana, along with all their possessions.
My wife had gone over 3 months prior. I was waiting on pins and needles, and I was talking to her probably twice a week on the ham radio. And Leona Collier came up and said, "Okay, Eugene, it's your time. You're going over." Coming into Jonestown, we see a guard at the front gate, and you're all excited, and you're going down this road. The trailer comes to a stop, and then you can see the wooden pathway that leads to the pavilion, and you want to run, but you're just trying, I'm gonna be cool. And just as you reach the edge of the pavilion, people started rushing you that you knew, my wife is there. I haven't seen my mother in over a year or so, and I'm just hugging people, and it's like I've arrived, and everything's gonna be okay now.
I've never been so totally happy or fulfilled in my life. I can't begin to describe it. You could sit here and talk all day long and no words could describe the peace, the beauty, the sense of accomplishment and responsibility and camaraderie that's here. It's overwhelming, it really is. You can't describe it.
It's just such an exciting time. Everything was new and unique and just fun. We just had fun with it as it grew. I just love that we created what we ate, that we did all these jobs.
What do you think about your friends back down in the state? Do you think they should be here?
Well,
do you want to share with them this morning? Speak up.
I wished I could.
Well, can you do
share
it?
with them?
Would you do it?
They won't listen to me.
They won't listen to you, huh?
When you don't have anything, you own Jonestown. You are part of Jonestown. You were a shareholder at Jonestown if you were African American. It gave them the opportunity to really be a part of creating a utopia.
Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why, tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
In the autumn of 1977, Timothy Stowen and other temple defectors formed a concerned relatives group because they had family members remaining in Jonestown. Stowen traveled to Washington, D.C. in January 1978 to visit with State Department officials and members of Congress and wrote a white paper detailing his grievances against Jones and the temple. His efforts aroused the curiosity of California Congressman Leo Ryan, who wrote a letter on Stowen's behalf to Guyanese Prime Minister Forbes Burnham. The concerned relatives also began a legal battle with the temple over the custody of Stowen's son. On April 11, 1978, the concerned relatives distributed a packet of documents, letters, and affidavits to the People's Temple, members of the press, and members of Congress, which they titled An Accusation of Human Rights Violations by Reverend James Warren Jones. In June 1978, escaped temple member Deborah Layton provided the group with a further affidavit detailing crimes by the temple and substandard living conditions in Jonestown. Jones was facing increasing scrutiny by the summer of 1978.
I think that Jim Jones took his group down there because he was afraid to face the publicity and answer the questions here in this country. I don't think that he feels confident having people talk to their relatives. I think the only way he can survive and sustain what he started is to isolate all his followers from this country and from their families.
The concerned relatives were the ex-members who wanted other family members still in the church to know they could leave. They wanted them to feel that there was an outside world. That
Investigation of People's Temple. They organized letter-writing campaigns to public officials, to members of Congress. They were incredibly effective in mobilizing government and media interest in People's Temple.
He was talking integration, he was talking helping people, he was talking better this and better that.
What about now? What's your impression now?
My impression now that those are fronts for him, I think he's gone crazy.
When Jim Jones wasn't there, things tended to be a little bit lighter. You know, people would be dancing or singing. There'd be music in different cottages. But when Jones was present, it was very, very dark. It was almost like a dark cloud.
In Jonestown, there was a speaker system, and only Jim spoke on it. And it went 24 hours a day, and he would tape himself. So in the middle of the night, all through the night, his voice was talking to you.
The United States is calling for the removal of all blacks and Indians, so is England, and want to have their immigrant black Indian population removed in 6 months.
We had no other radio or TV or communication with parents or any kind of, update that could show us really that there's a whole other thing going on besides what Jim was interpreting for us.
I make my stand clear. Give us our liberty or give us our death.
No matter where you were, you could hear. You could hear it in your bunk at night. You could hear it when you're in the outhouse. You could hear it when you were working in the field. You could hear it all the time.
At least on those terms, we choose our death, and no one chooses it for us. Don't try to take any of our children.
Pervasive sense of being under attack in Jonestown. He told them that things were just getting worse in the United States. They couldn't go back home. And not only that, but these forces were traveling to Guyana to destroy them there.
You can't know how much of a conspiracy there is in New York City. Maybe it's economics. Who knows what it is? I'm not even sure. But I do know it's obvious that Martin Luther King was murdered by conspiracy. Malcolm X.
Over the summer of 1978, all of us noticed that Jim seemed to be getting sicker. His harangues over the loudspeaker were getting more and more frantic and really just sounding more and more insane.
He had gotten to the place that even his voice was becoming slurred. Every day it was getting worse and worse.
Every night at some point, his voice would come over the loudspeaker and he'd say, "I'm sending somebody out tonight. Somebody you know, somebody you trust. And they're gonna act like they want to leave. But this is a loyalty test, and I'm sending to turn them in."
A father would turn in a son, a husband would turn in a wife, a small child would turn in a parent. There was no freedom to express to one another what was going on because everything was suspect. The most forbidden thing to express was to leave.
He had a real issue with separation.
By Christmas, do you want to be gone? By Christmas, do you want to be gone?
I would ask you, could I go home to make a trip to see my people?
I have the power to send you home by Christmas, but it's not on Transworld Airlines. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemy to talk about going back when you have not been given any approval. Do you want to go home?
No.
Well, then be seated and shut your mouth and don't be in my face anymore.
Christmas, I will be gone.
By Christmas, do you want to be gone?
Well, if
By
I
Christmas,
was
do you want to be gone? By Christmas, do you want to be gone?
I would ask you, could I go home to make a trip to see my people?
I have the power to send you home by Christmas, but it's not on Transworld Airlines. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemy to talk about going back when you have not been given any approval. Do you want to go home?
No.
Well, then be seated and shut your mouth and don't be in my face anymore.
In November 1978, Congressman Leo Ryan led a fact-finding mission to Jonestown to investigate allegations of human rights abuses. His delegation included relatives of temple members, an NBC camera crew, and reporters for various newspapers. The group arrived in the Guyanese capital of Georgetown on November 15, 1978. 2 days later, they traveled by airplane to Port Kaituma. There, they were transported to Jonestown in a tractor transporter. Jones hosted a reception for the delegation that evening at the Central Pavilion in Jonestown, during which Temple member Vernon Gosney passed a note meant for Congressman Ryan to NBC reporter Don Harris, requesting assistance for himself and another Temple member, Monica Bagby, in leaving the settlement.
It was enough for the congressman to say, you know what, I want to go find out for myself. Had a copy of the congressman's will and placed it in a particular drawer in my desk, just in case. How could you not be impressed that out of the jungles of Guyana, they had carved out a community? They had crops growing, they had cabins, they had a little medical clinic, a little daycare area.
Flour, rice, black-eyed peas. We put on a reception for him.
It was a vibrant community. I would never have imagined that 24 hours later those people would be dead.
Who believe that this is the best thing that ever happened to them in their whole life.
That response to him was spontaneous, it was loud, it was emotional. What I was feeling was, this is an opportunity that I can vocalize how much I believe in what we are doing.
Let's get out of Jonestown. When one of the reporters was walking around towards the edge of the pavilion, I stuck the note in the fold of his arm and it fell to the ground. And so I picked up the note and I gave it back to him. I said, you dropped something. And this little boy about 9 years old started saying, he passed a note, he passed a note.
Don Harris, who was the NBC reporter, came up to me and Congressman Ryan and handed us these two notes from people that wanted to leave. So at that point, we knew that something was very, very wrong.
Ryan's delegation left hurriedly the next afternoon of November 18th after Temple member Don Sly attacked the congressman with a knife, although the attack was thwarted. Ryan and his delegation managed to take along 15 Temple members who had expressed a wish to leave, and at that time, Jones made no attempt to prevent their departure.
I was like the first to rise up the following morning. It was a bright,
sunny day, but it was a dark day. It just didn't feel right.
We were there supposed to interview some of the family members to ask them why they cannot leave.
Are you happy here?
Oh, I should say I am. I've never been any happier in my life.
You want to stay?
Definitely. I certainly do.
Some people have said they couldn't leave if they wanted to. Do you think you could?
Yeah, if I really wanted to, I'm free to go. If I was really wanted to, I'd be able to free to go. Well, I believe it. I've been here a few days, and I have absolutely no complaints at all. It is really nice here. It is really nice, and I'll be leaving in a couple of weeks, and they could come with me, but they said they didn't want to come.
Literally out of nowhere, the storm came blowing in. The sky turned black, the wind came up, and it just torrential rain. But what I personally felt was that evil itself blew into Jonestown. It was about 11:30 in the morning. Edith Parks walked up to Jackie Spear and said, "I'm being held prisoner here. I want to go home."
Now, do I both understand you to say that you both want to leave Jonestown on this date, November 18, 1978?
Yeah. Immediately, the whole vibe changed. I mean, just reporters said, "We got our story. You know, the story here is happening right now."
Jim Jones came to talk to me. And the first thing he said was, "Don't say anything to the reporters. They're all liars." The last words I heard from Jim Jones was, "I just want you to know that you can come back to Jonestown and visit your son anytime you want."
Last night, someone came and passed me this note.
He's the one that I'm just talking about. Yeah, this is the man that wants to leave his son here.
Doesn't it concern you, though, that this man, for whatever reason, one of the people in your group...
People play games, friend. They lie. What can I do about lies? Are you people going to leave us? I just beg you, please leave us. Bill, we will bother nobody. Anybody wants to get out of here can get out of here. We have no problem about getting out of here. They come and go all the time. I don't know what kind of game. People like people like publicity. Some people do. I don't. But some people like publicity. But if it's so damn bad, why is he leaving his son here? Can you give me a good reason for that?
When word got out that people were leaving, all hell broke out.
You bring those kids back here! Hold on a second. You bring them back! One second. Don't you touch my kids!
More people wanted to leave. And then Jim Jones started to make pleas to people saying, "You can't leave. You're my people. Why do you want to leave?" It was an emotional roller coaster for everyone there.
Don't you touch my kids! Mother! Wait, no!
Jones was in the pavilion. At one point, he said, "Well, of course you can go if you want," but clearly that was not the message. The message was, "You are betraying me."
I went and I spoke to the congressman in the pavilion. I told him, "You are in extreme danger. You need to leave." And he said, "You don't have anything to worry about." He says, "You have the Congressional Shield of Protection around you." And I just looked at him like he was totally insane.
Congressman Ryan is directly across from me, and I saw this Temple member walk up behind him, and he was actually crying and shaking. And all of a sudden, he pulled out this knife and said, "All right, motherfucker, you're gonna die." We all jumped on him, and there were just screams of horror everywhere.
We heard this great uproar in the pavilion, and the truck stopped. Shortly thereafter, Congressman Ryan starts walking out in this blood-stained shirt.
Those of us in the news media viewed Congressman Ryan as a form of protection, a shield of the United States. What happened there in those few moments made it clear that nobody was safe.
I went back to my cottage. All I wanted to do was see my wife and my son. Gloria and I were laid down on the cot, and we just held each other. And I said, you know, I think we may all die. And she said, she kind of looked at me, and then she looked down at our son, who was playing on the floor with the toy, and she said, you're scaring him. I had literally opened my mouth to say, we need to leave, when there was an announcement on the loudspeaker, will everybody report to the pavilion for a meeting?
As members of Ryan's delegation boarded two planes at the Port Kaituma airstrip, Jones's armed guards, called the Red Brigade, led by Joe Wilson, Thomas Kai Sr., and Ronnie Dennis, arrived on a tractor and trailer and began shooting at them. The gunmen killed Ryan and 4 others near a Guyana Airways Twin Otter aircraft. At the same time, one of the supposed defectors, Larry Layton, drew a weapon and began firing on members of the party. Inside of the other plane, NBC cameraman Bob Brown was able to capture footage of the first few seconds of the shooting at the Otter, just before he himself was killed by the gunman.
We drove back to the airstrip, Port Kaituma. All of a sudden, we saw a dump truck from far away arriving to this airstrip. We realized these people catch up from the people from Jim Jones. They're very close lieutenant to Jim Jones. These 3 guys, they get off the truck, walk around this area as though they were looking for somebody. They look in people's faces, they stare at us for a little bit, but they didn't say one word, didn't ask anything. Right away, they walked back to the truck. They drove this truck all the way across the airstrip and stopped on this side of the plane. So literally, they cut us off from the jungle. We never know there's people hidden inside the dump truck. The moment they stopped shooting right away. Everybody ran towards the plane, on this side of the plane. They tried to hide underneath the wheels.
Then the congressman ran under the plane, and I sort of followed suit and got behind one of the tires.
All you can hear is a gun pop, pop, pop goes off constantly. We lie flat on the tarmac at that moment. But shortly afterwards, I heard my partner, the cameraman, he yelled, "Oh shit," he said he got shot. He was sitting up.
Later that same day, 909 inhabitants of Jonestown, 304 of them children, died of apparent cyanide poisoning, mostly in and around the Central Pavilion. Following the mass murder-suicide, Jones himself was found dead at the stage of the Central Pavilion. He was resting on a pillow near his deck chair with a gunshot wound to his head, which was consistent with suicide. Jones's body was cremated and his remains were scattered in the ocean. Some have said, and it was speculated by Jones's own biological son, that Jones was such a coward that he himself did not pull the trigger. He had someone else shoot him than rather die of the cyanide poisoning, which was very effective, very fast acting, and a very painful way to die. During the investigation, while processing this tragic murder scene, many audio tapes, video recordings, and personal papers detailing the lives of those at Jonestown was found. Among the audio recordings found was a tape that captured the actual mass suicide. It is known as the death tape. I will warn you, what you are about to hear is very graphic. This is a trigger warning.
How very much I've loved you. How very much I've tried my best to give you the good life. But in spite of all of that I've tried, a handful of our people, with their lies, have made our life impossible. There's no way to detach ourselves from what's happened today. Not only we're in a compound situation, not only are there those who have left and committed the betrayal of the century. Some have stolen children from others, and they're in pursuit right now to kill them because they stole their children. And we are sitting here waiting on a powder keg. I don't think this is what we want to do with our babies. I don't think that's what we had in mind to do with our babies. It was said by the greatest of prophets from time immemorial, no man takes my life from me, I lay my life down. So to sit here and wait for the catastrophe that's going to happen on that airplane, it's going to be a catastrophe. Almost happened here. Almost happened. The congressman was nearly killed here. But you can't steal people's children. You can't take off with people's children without expecting a violent reaction. And that's not so unfamiliar to us either. Even if we were Judeo-Christian, if we weren't communists, the world, the kingdom suffereth violence, and the violence shall take it by force. If we can't live in peace, then let's die in peace. We've been so betrayed. We have been so terribly betrayed. But we tried, and as Jack Beam often said, I don't know where he's at right this moment. Where's Jack? He said, if this only worked one day, it was worthwhile. What's going to happen here in a matter of a few minutes is that one of those people on that plane is going to shoot the pilot. I know that. I didn't plan it, but I know it's going to happen. They're going to shoot that pilot, and down comes that plane into the jungle. And we had better not have any of our children left when it's over, because they'll parachute in here on us. I'm telling you just as plain as I know how to tell you. I've never lied to you. I never have lied to you. I know that's what's going to happen. That's what he intends to do. And he will do it. He'll do it. Pressure's on my brain seeing all these people behave so treasonous. It was just... So my opinion is that we be kind to children and be kind to seniors and take the portion like they used to take in ancient Greece and step over quietly, because we are not committing suicide. It's a revolutionary act. We can't go back. They won't leave us alone. They're now going back to tell more lies, which means more congressmen, and there's no way we can survive. Anybody wish to? Anyone that has any dissenting opinion, please speak. Yes. You can have an opportunity, but if our children are left, we are going to have them butchered. We can make a strike, but we'll be striking against people that we don't want to strike against. We'd like to get the people who cause this stuff, and if some people here are prepared to know how to do that, to go in town and get Timothy Stone, but there's no plane. There's no plane. You can't catch a plane in time. He's responsible for it. He brought these people to us. He and Deanna Myrtle. But people in San Francisco will not be idle over this. They'll not take our death in vain, you know. Yes, Christine? Is it too late for Russia? Here's why it's too late for Russia. They killed. They started to kill. That's why it makes it too late for Russia. Otherwise, I'd said, Russia, you bet your life. But it's too late. I can't control these people. They're out there. They've gone with their guns, and it's too late. And once we kill anybody, at least that's the way I've always put my lot with you. If one of my people do something, it's me. Now they say I don't have to take the blame for this, but I don't live that way. They said deliver up Ujara, who tried to get the man back here. Ujara, whose mother has been lying on him and trying to break up this family, and they've all agreed to kill us by any means necessary. You think I'm going to deliver them, Ujara? Not on your life. No. No, you're not going. You're not going. You're not going. I can't live that way. I cannot live that way. I've lived for all, and I'll die for all. I've been living on hope for a long time, Christine, and I appreciate you've always been a very good agitator. I like agitation because you got to see two sides of one issue, two sides of a question. But what those people are going to get done, what they get through, will make our life worse than hell. Will make the Russians not accept us when they get through lying. They told so many lies between there and that truck that we are done in as far as any other alternative.
Well, I said let's make an airlift to Russia. That's what I say. I don't think nothing is impossible.
Well, how are we going to
believe it?
How are you going to airlift to Russia?
Well, I thought they said if we got in an emergency, they gave you a code to let them know.
No, they did. They gave us the code that they'd let us know of an issue, not us create an issue for them. They said if they saw the country coming down, they'd give us the code. They give us a code. You can check on there and see if it's on the code. You can check with Russia to see if they'll take us in immediately, otherwise we die. I don't know what else you say to these people. But to me, death is not a fearful thing. It's living that's treacherous. I have never seen anything like this before in my life. I've never seen people take the law and do in their own hands and provoke us and try to purposely agitate murder of children. There's no, Christine, it's not worth living like this. Not worth living like this.
I think that there were too few who left for 1,200 people to give them their lives for those people that left.
You know how many left?
20 odd. That's a small
20 odd. 20 odd.
Compared to what's here.
20 odd. But what's going to happen when they don't leave? I hope that they could leave, but what's going to happen when they don't leave?
You mean the people here?
Yeah, what's going to happen to us when they don't leave, when they get on the plane and the plane goes down?
I don't think it'll go down.
You don't think it'll go down? I wish I could tell you were right, but I'm right. There's one man there who blames, and rightfully so, Debbie Blakey for the murder of his mother, and he'll stop that pilot by any means necessary. He'll do it. That plane will come out of the air. There's no way you fly a plane without a pilot.
I wasn't speaking about that plane. I was speaking about the plane for us to go to Russia.
To Russia. Do you think Russia's going to want? No, not going to. We're not. Do you think Russia's going to want us with all this stigma? We had some value, but now we don't have any value.
Well, I don't see it like that. I mean, I feel like that as long as there's life, there's hope. That's my faith.
Well, everybody dies. Someplace that hope runs out because everybody dies. I haven't seen anybody yet that didn't die. And I like to choose my own kind of death for a change. I'm tired of being tormented to hell. That's what I'm tired of. Tired of it. 1,200 people's lives in my hands, and I certainly don't want your life in my hand. But I'm going to tell you, Christine, without me, life has no meaning. I'm the best friend you'll ever have. Once I have to pay, I'm standing with you, Jara. I'm standing with those people. They're part of me. I can detach myself. My attorney says detach myself. No. I never detached myself from any of your troubles. I've always taken your troubles right on my shoulders. And I'm not going to change that now. It's too late. I've been running too long. I'm not going to change now. Maybe the next time you get to go to Russia, the next time around. What I'm talking about now is in the dispensation of judgment. This is a revolutionary suicide council. I'm not talking about self-destruction. I'm talking about what we have no other road. I will take your call. We will put it to the Russians, and I can tell you the answer now because I'm a prophet. Call the Russians and tell them, see if they'll take us.
I said I'm afraid to die.
I don't think you are.
means.
I don't think you are.
But I look at our babies and I think they deserve to live.
I agree.
You know?
But also they deserve, what's more, they deserve peace.
We all came here for peace.
And have we had it?
No.
I tried to give it to you. I've laid down my life practically. I've practically died every day to give you peace, and you've still not had any peace. You look better than I've seen you in a long while, but it's still not the kind of peace that I wanted to give you. So, a person's a fool that continues to say that you're winning when you're losing. Win one, lose two. What? I didn't hear you, ma'am. You have to speak up. That's a sweet thought. Who said that? Come on up and speak it again, honey. Come up and say it talk about. It's taken off. No plane is taken off. It's suicide. They have done it. Stone has done it. But somebody ought to. Somebody. Can they not talk to San Francisco? See, the Stone does not get by with this infamy. This is infamy. He has done the thing he wanted to do. To have us destroyed.
When we destroy ourselves, we're defeated. We let them, the enemy, defeat us.
Did you see I live to fight no more forever?
Yes, I saw that.
Did you not have some sense of pride and victory in that man? He would not subject himself to the will and whim of people who tell that they're going to come in whenever they please and push into our house, come when they please, take who they want to, talk to who they want to. Is that living? That's not living to me. That's not freedom. That's not the kind of freedom I sought.
But I think where they made their mistake is when they stopped to rest. If they had gone on, they would have made it. But they stopped to rest.
It's over, sister. It's over. We've made that day. We made a beautiful day. And let's make it a beautiful day. That's what
We win. We win when we go down. Tim Stone has nobody else to hate. He has nobody else to hate. Then he'll destroy himself. I'm speaking here not as the administrator. I'm speaking as a prophet today. I wouldn't step in this seat and talk so serious if I didn't know what I was talking about. If there's any way to call back the immense amount of damage that's going to be done. But I cannot separate myself from the pain of my people. And you can't either, Christine, if you stop to think about it. You can't separate yourself. We've walked too long together.
I know that, but I still think as an individual, I have a right to...
You do, and I'm listening.
What I think, what I feel, and I think we all have a right to our own destiny as individuals.
Right.
And I think I have a right to choose mine, and everybody else has a right to choose theirs.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. I'm not criticizing. I'm not trying to... What's that? Said today. That's what 20 people said today with their lives.
I think I still have a right to my own opinion.
I'm not taking it from you. I'm not taking it from you.
Christine, you're only standing here because he was here in the first place. So I don't know what you're talking about, having an individual life. Your life has been extended to the day that you're standing there because of him.
Voice back there, she has as much right to speak to anybody else, too. What'd you say, Louie? Well, you'll regret that this very day if you don't die. You'll regret it if you don't die. You'll regret it.
Too many people?
I saved them, but I made my example. I made my expression. I made my manifestation, and the world was ready, not ready for me. Paul said I was a man born out of due season. I've been born out of due season just like all we are, and the best testimony we can make is to leave this goddamn world. Jeez.
You must be scared to die. I'm not talking to her. Will you let me talk?
You're talking.
Would you make her sit down and let me talk while I'm on the floor, or let her come?
Proper to tell the leader what to do. It really isn't. I've listened to you. You asked me about Russia. I'm right now making a call to Russia. What more do you suggest? I'm listening to you. If Russia gives me one slight bit of encouragement, I just now instructed them to go there and do that.
And you would be no fucking good in Russia, goddammit!
All right, now everybody hold it. We didn't come. Hold it. Much longer to maintain. To lay down your burdens. I'm going to lay down my burdens down by the riverside. So we lay them down here in the side of Guyana. What's the difference? No man didn't take our life right now. He hadn't taken it. But when they start parachuting out of the air, they'll shoot some of our innocent babies. I don't want to see this, Christine, because they got to shoot me to get through to some of these people. I'm not letting them take your jar. Can you let them take your jar?
See John die?
What's that?
You mean you want to see John, the little one you keep?
I want to see. Peace.
Christine, are you saying that you think he thinks more of them than other children here?
John.
That's what you're saying.
But you're acting. Do you think I'd put John's life above others? If I put John's life above others, I wouldn't be standing with his jar. I'd send John out. He could go out on the driveway tonight.
Because he's young. They're young.
I know, but he's no different to me than any of these children here. He's just one of my children. I don't prefer one above another. I don't prefer him above your jar. I can't do that. I can't separate myself from your actions or his actions. If you'd done something wrong, I'd stand with you. If they wanted to come and get you, they'd have to take me.
We're all ready to go. If you tell us we have to give our lives now, we're ready. I'm pretty sure all the rest of the sisters and brothers are with me.
For months I've tried to keep this thing from happening, but I now see it's the will of sovereign being that this happened to us. That we lay down our lives in protest against what's being done. That we lay down our lives to protest in what's being done. The criminality of people, the cruelty of people. Who walked out of here today? Did you notice who walked out? Mostly white people. Mostly white people walked. I'm so grateful for the ones that didn't, those who knew who they are. But there's no point. There's no point to this. We are born before our time. They won't accept us. And I don't think we should sit here and take any more time for our children to be endangered, because they come after our children and we give them our children, then our children will suffer forever. I have no quarrel with you coming up. I like you. I personally like you very much.
These people get hostile when you try to...
Oh, well, some people do. But just some people do. Put it that way. I'm not hostile. You had to be honest, and you stayed, and if you'd wanted to run, you'd have run with them, because anybody could have run today. They would have wanted to. I know you're not a runner. And your life's precious to me. It's as precious as John's. And I don't, what I do with weight and justice and judgment. I've weighted against all evidence.
Okay, that's all I got to say.
What comes now, folks? What comes now?
Everybody hold it.
Stay peace. Stay peace. Stay peace. Stay peace. Stay peace. What's come? Don't let it. Just take Dwyer on down to the East House.
Everybody be quiet, please.
So you've got some respect for our lives.
That means sit down, sit down, sit down.
I know. I tried so very, very hard. We're trying over here to see what can happen in Los Angeles. Who is it? Get Dwyer out of here before something happens to him. Dwyer? I'm not talking about you, Jara. I said Dwyer. Ain't nobody gonna take you, Jara. I'm not letting them take you, Jara. Gather in, folks. It's easy. It's easy. Yes, my love.
At one time, I felt just like Christine felt. But after today, I don't feel anything because the biggest majority of the people that left here were white. And I know it really hurt my heart because
broke your heart, didn't it?
It broke my heart to think that all of these years that these white people have been with us and they're not a part of us. So we might as well end it now because I don't see...
Talking, the congressman has been murdered.
I'm ready.
It's all over, all over. What a legacy, what a legacy. But the Red Brigade's the only ones that ever made any sense anyway. They invaded our privacy, they came into our home, they followed us 6,000 miles away. The Red Brigade showed them justice. The congressman's dead. Please get us some medication. It's simple, there's no convulsions with it, it's just simple, just please get it. Before it's too late, the GDF will be here. I tell you, get moving, get moving, get moving. Yeah. Don't be afraid to die. If these people land out here, they'll torture some of our children here. They'll torture our people. They'll torture our seniors. We cannot have this. Are you going to separate yourself from whoever shot the congressman? I don't know who shot him. Speaker Pete and those had a right to go, and they had a right to... How many are dead? Oh, God Almighty, God Almighty. Patty Parks is dead?
And the others to endure long enough in a safe place to write about the goodness of Jim Jones?
I don't know how in the world they're ever going to write about us. It's just too late. It's too late. The congressman's dead. The congressman's dead. Many of our traitors are dead. They're all laying out there dead. I didn't, but my people did. My people did. They're my people. And they've been provoked too much. They've been provoked too much. What's happened here has been this has been an act of provocation. Yes.
If it's any way possible to have them to give Ted something to take him, I'm satisfied, okay?
What's that?
I said if it's any way you can do to have them to give Ted something so he won't have to let him go too, okay? And I'm satisfied.
That's fine. Ted, yes.
Because I said I never wanted to live with you guys. And I appreciate you for everything. You're the only, and I appreciate you.
Please, can we hasten with that medication? You don't know what you've done. I tried. Move, please move.
Wesley told me there were 2 GDF.
they saw it happen and ran in the bush and dropped their machine guns. I never in my life. But there'll be more. You got to move. Are you going to get the medication here? You got to move. Marston, they've got 40 minutes.
You have to move, and the people that are standing there in the aisle go stay in the radio room yard, but everybody get behind the table and back this way, okay? There's nothing to worry about. Everybody keep calm and try and keep your children calm. And the older children can help love the little children and reassure them. Children aren't crying from pain. It's just a little bitter tasting, but they're not crying out of any pain. Annie McGowan, can I please see you back?
I used to do before I came here. So let me tell you about it. It might make a lot of you feel a little more comfortable. Sit down and be quiet, please. One of the things that I used to do, I used to be a therapist. And the kind of therapy that I did had to do with reincarnation and past life situations. And every time anybody had the experience of going into a past life, I was fortunate enough through Father to be able to let them experience it all the way through their death, so to speak. And everybody was so happy when they made that step to the other side.
When you step to there's no other thing you can do but step that way. It's the only way to step. That choice is not ours now. It's out of our hands.
If you have a body that's been crippled, suddenly you have the kind of body that you want to have.
A little rest.
It feels good. You've never felt so good, family, I tell you. You've never felt so good is how that feels.
And I do hope that those attorneys will stay where they belong and don't come up here. What is it? What is it? Get what? It's hard. Only at first. Only at first is it hard. It's hard only at first. Living, you're looking at death. It only looks. Living is much more difficult. Raising up every morning and not knowing what's going to be the night's bringing. It's much more difficult. It's much more difficult.
I just want to say something to everyone that I see that is standing around and crying. This is nothing to cry about. This is something we should all rejoice about. We should be happy about this. They always told us that we should cry when you're coming into this world. Well, when we're living and we're living it peaceful, I think we should be happy about this. I was just thinking about Jim Jones. He just has suffered and suffered and suffered. He is the only God, and he don't even have a chance to enjoy himself here. And I wanted to say one more thing. This is one thing I want to say. That few that's gone, it's many more here. That's not all of us. That's not all yet. That's just a few that has got a chance to get to the one that they could tell their story to, their lives to. So I'm looking at so many people crying. I wish you would not cry and just thank Father. Just thank him. I've been here about... I've been here 1 year and 9 months, and I never felt better in my life, not in San Francisco, but until I came to Jonestown. I've enjoyed this life. I've had a beautiful life, and I don't see nothing for us to be crying about. We should be happy. At least I am. Let's sing some little things.
wouldn't be alive today. I just like to thank Dad because he was the only one that stood up for me when I needed him. And thank you, Dad.
I'm glad you're my brothers and sisters, and I'm glad to be here. Okay.
Please, for God's sakes, let's get on with it. We've lived as no other people have lived and loved. We've had as much of this world as you're going to get. Let's just be done with it. Let's be done with the agony of it. It's far, far harder to have to watch you every day die slowly. And from the time you're a child to the time you get gray, you're dying. Dishonest, and I'm sure that they'll pay for it. They'll pay for it. This is a revolutionary suicide. This is not a self-destructive suicide. So they'll pay for this. They brought this upon us, and they'll pay for that. I leave that destiny to them. Who wants to go with their child has a right to go with their child. I think it's humane. I want to go. I want to see you go, though. They can take me and do with me whatever they want to do. I want to see you go. I don't want to see you go through this hell no more. No more, no more, no more. We're trying. If everybody will relax. The best thing you do to relax, then you'll have no problem. You'll have no problem with the thing if you just relax.
Of the children here, a great deal because of Jim Jones. And the way the children are laying there now, I'd rather see them lay like that than to see them have to die like the Jews did, which was pitiful anyhow. And I'd just like to thank Dad for giving us life and also death. And I appreciate the fact the way our children are going. Because like Dad said, when they come in, what they're going to do to our children, they're going to massacre our children. And also the ones that they take captured, they're going to just let them grow up and be dummies like they want them to be, and not grow up to be associates like the one and only Jim Jones. So I'd like to thank Dad for our opportunity for letting Jonestown be not what it could be, but what Jonestown is. Thank you, Dad.
It's not to be feared. It is not to be feared. It's a friend. It's a friend. You're sitting there. Show your love for one another. Calm, let's get calm, let's get calm. To us, we had nothing we could do. We can't separate ourselves from our own people. For 20 years laying in some old rotten nursing home. Taking us through all these anguish years. They took us and put us in chains, and that's nothing. There's no comparison to that, to this. They robbed us of our land, and they've taken us and driven us till we tried to find ourselves. We tried to find a new beginning, but it's too late. You can't separate yourself from your brother and your sister. No way I'm going to do it. I refuse. I don't know who fired the shot. I don't know who killed the congressman. But as far as I'm concerned, I killed him. You understand what I'm saying? I killed him. He had no business coming. I told him not to come. Die with respect. Die with a degree of dignity. Lay down your life with dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony. There's nothing to death. It's like Max said. It's just stepping over into another plane. Don't be this way. Stop this hysterics. This is not the way for people who are socialist, communists to die. No way for us to die. We must die with some dignity. Soon we'll have no choice. Now we have some choice. You think they're going to allow this to be done and allow us to get by with this? must be insane.
Children, it's just something to put you to rest. Oh, God. Mother, 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 please. Mother, please, 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 don't do this, don't do this. Lay down your life with your child, but don't do this. Free at last. Peace. Keep your emotions down. Keep your emotions down. Children, it will not hurt if you'll be quiet. If you'll be quiet. It's never been done before, you say. It's been done by every tribe in history. Every tribe facing annihilation. All the Indians of the Amazon are doing it right now. They refuse to bring any babies into the world. They kill every child that comes into the world because they don't want to live in this kind of a world. So be patient, be patient. Death is, I tell you, I don't care how many screams you hear, I don't care how many anguished cries. Death is a million times preferable to 10 more days of this life. If you knew what was ahead of you, if you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over tonight. Death is common to people. In the Eskimos, they take death in their stride. Let's be dignified. If you quit telling them they're dying, if you adults would stop some of this nonsense, adults, I call on you to stop this nonsense. I call on you to quit exciting your children when all they're doing is going to quiet rest. I call on you to stop this now. If you have any respect at all, are we black, proud, and socialist, or what are we? Now stop this nonsense. Don't carry this on anymore. You're exciting your children. All over, and it's good. No sorrow that it's all over. I'm glad it's over. Hurry, hurry, my children, hurry. All I say, does not fall into the hands of the enemy. Hurry, my children. Hurry. The seniors out here that I'm concerned about. Hurry. I don't want to leave my seniors to this mess. Quickly. Sisters, good knowing you. No more pain, Al. No more pain, I said, Al. No more pain. Jim Cobb is laying on the airfield dead at this moment. Remember the Oliver woman said she'd come over and kill me if her sons wouldn't stop her. These are the people, the peddlers of hate. All we're doing is laying down our life. We're not letting them take our life. We're laying down our life. We're seeking their lives. We just want peace.
All I'd like to say is that my so-called parents was filled with so much hate. And treachery. I think you people out here should think about how your relatives was and be glad about that the children are being laid to rest. And all I like to say is I thank Dad for making me strong to stand with it all and make me ready for it. Thank you.
Talking to them, all they're doing is taking a drink to go to sleep. That's what death is, sleep. Whatever, I'm tired of it all.
Loving thing he could have ever done, the most loving thing all of us could have done. And it's been a pleasure walking with all of you in this revolutionary struggle. No other way I would rather go and give my life for socialism, communism. And I thank Dad very, very much.
That Dad's love and mercy and goodness and kindness and bringing us to this land of freedom. His love, his mother was the advance guard to socialism. And his love and his mercy should go on forever, on to the fields.
Where's the vat? Where's the vat with the green sea, you say?
Go on forever to the fields of pine. And thank you, Dad.
The vat with the green sea in, please. Bring it here so the adults can begin. Beg you, don't fail to follow my advice. You'll be sorry. You'll be sorry. That we do it than that they do it. Must trust you. You have to step across. We used to sing this world's not our home. Well, it sure isn't. As we were saying, it sure wasn't. He doesn't want to tell him. All he's doing, if they will tell him, assure these children. Some people assure these children of the relaxation of stepping over to the next plane. We've set an example for others. We've set 1,000 people who say we don't like the way the world is. You stop. Take our life from us. We laid it down. We got tired. We didn't commit suicide. We committed an act of revolutionary suicide, protesting the conditions of an inhumane world.
Most cults are extremely small and very deliberately try to stay under the radar. Unless they commit a crime, unless they do something that draws attention to them, negative attention and criticism to them, we generally do not know about them. Up to 10,000 cults still exist today in the United States. So what constitutes a cult? Here are several factors. 1. Beware of any kind of pressure. Any kind of pressure to make a quick decision about becoming involved in any intensive kind of activity or organization. 2. Be wary of any leader who proclaims him or herself as having special powers or special insight, and of course, claiming to be God. 3. The group is closed, so in other words, although there may be outside followers, there's usually an inner circle that follows the leader without question, and that maintains a tremendous amount of secrecy. 4. The group uses deceptive means, typically to recruit new members, and then once recruited, will subject its members to an organized program of thought reform, or what most people refer to as brainwashing. 5. Typically, cults also exploit their members, mostly financially. Within the group, they'll exploit members financially, psychologically, emotionally, and all too often, sexually. 6. A very important aspect of the cult idea is that if you leave the cult, horrible things will happen to you. This is important, and it's really important to realize this, that people outside of a cult are actually considered as potential members. So they're not looked upon as negatively as people inside of the cult who then leave the cult. Being in a cult is a very dangerous situation. When someone is threatened by being exposed or being found out that they have been leading a cult, that is a dangerous situation to be in. They will often resort to violence, even murder, as we see with the Jim Jones and People's Temple murder-suicide. So it is absolutely dangerous to be involved with someone that is leading a group and they're being possessive. They have isolated everyone in the group. They forbid the group from reaching out to their family, their friends, and their loved one. They control their ideas, their thoughts. They control what they eat, where, how they speak. They have reformed their minds, taken away the old concepts and ideas, and replaced them with their own dogma, religious, whether it be religious dogma or whether it be, a dogma that was made up by the cult leader. If you or someone you know is in a cult, please get help today. You or them are in danger. If you are not immediately able to get out, please call 911. There is also a group called FACT, which stands for Families Against Cult Teachings and Abuses. They are also able to assist with getting you out of the cult. They can be contacted at 1-877-360-3228. Let's not take this lightly. This information was not intended for entertainment purposes. This was intended for educational purposes. That concludes this video, Surviving a Cult, Jim Jones and the People's Temple. If you or someone you know were in a cult and you have a story that you would like to share, sound off in the comments below. As always, we are interested in hearing from you. So until next time, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check out all our other surviving series. We have Surviving the Illuminati, Surviving Tasha K. We have Surviving the Wiley Show. We have all types of survival videos and all other type of uploads. So go on over and check out our catalog. Until next time, bye guys.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boy. Check the mic, make sure it sound right.